So
Isn't it
affirmations
fascinating?
work. They really
Isn't it
work.
fascinating? Those limiting beliefs. You know, you've mentioned here, even the recruiter was limited in their beliefs, and your mum was limited in her beliefs, and you're using affirmations to rewire your subconscious mind. I'd be interested to learn, what were the limiting beliefs that your mum had? What did she say to you as you grew up? Because those childhood memories seem to fade, but the painful ones we actually repress because we don't want to hear mum's voice in the back of our head saying, money doesn't grow on trees. You know, we're not rich people. I used to bring water home from the well. What were those stories that your mum would say? What were all those limiting beliefs?
Oh my God, you wouldn't believe this. So, growing up, ever since I was a kid, I wanted to be an entertainer. So, either acting or music. I remember looking at one of those childhood photos. I don't actually remember owning the toy, but looking at the photo, I'm like, wait, we owned a little toy piano keyboard. And I was like hugging it. And I guess that's my first experience with piano. I really wanted to learn piano. I was like desperate to learn piano. I asked for piano lessons for so many years. And my parents, especially my dad, said, no, you can't take piano lessons. Why, Dad? It's because you're going to hurt your fingers, Annie. You're going to injure your fingers. You're going to permanently
What type of piano was
hurt
it?
your hand or something, you know? um, he repeated this to me so many times. And I was like, but Dad, that doesn't make sense. Diane takes piano lessons. Judy takes piano lessons. Their hands are fine. I don't see anyone injuring their hands. This is ridiculous. So on a conscious level, I never accepted this limiting belief of my dad that playing piano is going to injure my hands, okay? Never believed it because it's ridiculous. Finally, now I'm an adult. I have money. I'm taking piano lessons. I've been taking piano lessons for 2 years. But there's something wrong initially with my playing. I was really like, something wasn't free. I would go in, I would learn from my teacher, I would go home and I'd practice, come back, and my hands during the lesson would forget what I was doing. Something was wrong. It was like, I couldn't figure it out. And then finally, I got a coaching session from a life coach, and I realized I never solved this problem of like, I always felt like for an entire year of those piano lessons, despite practicing 2 hours a day, right? I felt like I was sneaking behind my parents' back. Like I'm waiting for my parents to give me permission to finally play piano. I'm like, when's mom and dad gonna say it's okay for Annie to learn piano? And then when I realized, wait, they're never gonna give me permission, I have to give myself permission. So I consciously made a statement that night. I said, I give myself permission to learn piano. And then you know what happened? 48 hours later, I injured my hand. I got a hand injury that was so painful on my left wrist. It didn't even make any sense. I went to the doctor. She couldn't figure out what was wrong with me. And then my hand was healing. I couldn't play piano for 2 whole weeks. Hand felt so much better. I lifted a 50-pound bag of rock salt. It was fine. My hand could lift 50 pounds of rock salt. And then I said, okay, well, my hand's fine. I'm going to get back on the piano. I got on the piano. I played a key so lightly and so softly. The pain shot up to my wrist. It was intensely painful. And then all of a sudden, I was like, wait a minute. There's nothing wrong with my hand. My mind is creating this pain. And I had to go through so much just to remove like the limiting beliefs that were caused by my dad's whatever he did to me, that like it took a whole month of healing for this to go away. Yeah. That is the extent of their limiting beliefs. Yeah.
We call that heterogenic conditioning.
What is
And
that? How do you spell that?
heterogenic conditioning. Gee whiz, I'm not the best speller.
I want to learn.
Hetero-
I got to look this up.
Heterogenic conditioning. So hetrogenic conditioning.
Okay.
So the words of our parents, mum and dad, or somebody we look up to in authority, grandmother or grandfather or teacher, when spoken from a place of authority, create rules. So if we think about that from a neuro-linguistic programming perspective, it means other people's words program your neurology. So what happens is you accept this command as true, because when these people with authority speak to us, we often have no critical faculty. The conscious mind doesn't accept it. It just accepts it as a command and says, okay, well, if you say I'm going to hurt my hand, then this must be truth. And then throughout our life, we live up to or down to those expectations. If it's a positive expectation and our parents say, Annie, you could be a concert pianist, then for the rest of your life, you're going to have that program in your mind with the belief that you're going to be a concert pianist. And you will live up to that positive expectation and you'll prove yourself right, which is a self-fulfilling prophecy. But if somebody says something negative like you will play the piano and you will hurt yourself, then you will end up living down to that negative program. And there'll be a time in your life where you make a decision. You'll start to play piano. You're going against your parents. You'll go into a self-sabotaging pattern. The body will create a psychosomatic illness, and all of a sudden, problems.
I know. It was insane.
And it's just a matter of time, because I remember for
I
me,
consciously rejected
Yep,
what they were
yep.
teaching me. Yeah.
And we can reject it as much as we want consciously, but the conscious mind holds no memory. It's the subconscious mind that generates all of our behaviors. And before we have an accident, there's always a limiting decision that precedes an accident. So an example of that is my wife in 2009, we were living in Dubai, and she said, husband, I want a job where I get paid to do nothing.
What?
And I said,
What?
sweetheart, I said, well, good for you if it happens, but why don't you do what you want to do? She says, I don't know what I want to do. And for 6 months, she kept saying, I want a job where I get paid to do nothing. Now, in Australia, that sounds like a workers' compensation plan. Sounds like you're going to get injured and you're going to get compensation.
Disability.
Disability, exactly.
Yeah.
And so she kept going and going and going. And then one morning at 4 a.m., I received a telephone call. Daniel, this is the duty controller for Emirates Airline. There's been an accident, but this is not a peer support call. I said, if it's not a peer support call, what is it? And he said, your fiance's had an accident on the aircraft. Can you come straight down to the hospital? So I went to the hospital. She's had an accident and her kneecap has exploded into 5 pieces. She goes in for an emergency surgery. She has a second surgery and a third surgery. And for the next 2.5 years, she has a job where she gets paid to do nothing. And the same thing for her.
So she created that. She created that reality. So one of the things they teach in energy.
And we call that one autogenic conditioning. So you had heterogenic conditioning. She had autogenic conditioning where she spoke that into existence. She created that. And you know what? After it happened, she said, that's not what I wanted.